Thank you. And Chair will next recognize Congresswoman Jackie Speier, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank each of you as being true public servants and incredible guardians of the American taxpayers. Having said that, I find this discussion very interesting because on the one hand, some of my colleagues often call upon us to think about small businesses and lending to small businesses and the fact that we haven't had enough lending to small businesses, and yet we can't seem to get access to information from the banks as to whether or not they are lending to small businesses, and wouldn't we want to know that? And isn't that what our job is really all about? Now, I think we've got to be very practical here. This is an arm's length transaction that goes on between these financial institutions and the U.S. government, and these warrants have value. Now, I think timing has everything to do with our success at maximizing the amount of money we get back for the taxpayers. And it's very clear to me that there are some of these arrangements that aren't going to be profitable. AIG comes to mind as one in particular. So it's important to us, I think, to maximize profits to compensate for the ones that are clearly going to be underwater forever. And I'm hoping that as you continue to evaluate, if you believe that we should be holding these assets, these warrants, that we should hold those. It's an arm's length transaction. If the banks are coming to us now and saying, we want you to exercise the option on the warrant or to redeem the warrant, they're saying that because they know that they're on the road to recovery and it's only going to increase in value. So it behooves us to be smart investors right now, and I would like your opinions on whether or not there is something to be gained by holding on to them. Just because they say they want them redeemed doesn't mean we have to act and redeem them. Our first and only goal should be maximizing the profits for the taxpayers. Your comments.
Congresswoman, I think you've put your finger right on the ultimate policy question here. If that is the only goal, and that is what Treasury should be doing, then Treasury should act like any other investor. And you are exactly right. They should take these to market when it's appropriate to take them to market. When they make the judgment that they would be better off to hold, then they should hold. There are those who believe there are alternative considerations. There are those who are deeply concerned about the notion that the federal government holds warrants. We ultimately believe that is a policy choice. There's a difference of opinion on which is the right way to go with these warrants. And my strong view on this is that we laid this out in our report, and ultimately Congress should advise Treasury about what it thinks is the right way to go here. I think we do this through this hearing process. We want to say that if what they're trying to do is maximize value, we can point out ways that we think that is best accomplished. If they have other considerations, then let me be blunt. Then they should articulate what those alternative considerations are and evaluate how much money is left on the table in order to accommodate them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Barofsky?
I could not agree with Professor Warren more. I think that's precisely right. I think that the report brought transparency to the issue. Decision needs to be made, and I think the really strong point that Professor Warren makes that I can't agree with more is that you need to be upfront in articulating what the policy decision is. Be upfront with the American taxpayer that we think there's good reasons to liquidate these warrants now because for whatever the reasons are, for the benefits of the banks, let the financial institutions off the hook, whatever the justification is, but be upfront and honest about what's happening. So I agree with Professor Warren on this.
Mr. McCool?
Again, I would agree as well. I mean, there are trade-offs here, and I think that as long as you're transparent about the trade-offs, then everybody who should be involved in thinking about those trade-offs is in the decision-making process, then I think that's the way it should work.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I would just like to point out that there are people who want to see the TARP fail. They want to be able to say, I told you so. So there are people, I believe, that are going to make us try and take action that are not necessarily in the best interests of the public, because they want to be able to say at the end of the process that we should never have done it in the first place. So I hope that we keep our eye on what's most important here, and that is the American taxpayer. I yield back.
I thank the lady for her questions and the witnesses for their responses. Now I next recognize the